Papa Sugar, say yeah!
This is Car Bros Podcast, episode 18.
Yep.
18. Thank you for being here.
Barely legal.
And thanks for everyone for participating in that awesome live stream.
Oh, yeah. I hope you enjoyed the live stream last week.
Mm-hmm.
If you are enjoying the Car Bros Podcast, please consider signing up for our Patreon. Just getting this out of the way up front.
Mm-hmm. And the Car Bros videos that there's so many of them we're working
videos.
on.
Yeah, sorry there hasn't been a video.
The flurry of videos.
Remedying that soon.
They are on the way.
Check out our Patreon. Please consider signing up for that. Contributing, it does help. And also, if you could rate this podcast on iTunes, that seems to help with our ranking on iTunes podcasts or something like that.
It makes us feel like big men.
Yeah, it makes us. Mostly it just strokes our ego. I suspect when we release another video, we will get another kind of wave of podcast subscribers. Yeah. But
when that day comes.
Until that day comes, I think, because we don't advertise this.
Right.
Really. And so I don't know how the audience is going to grow. But apparently that is one way. Because tell your friends.
Tell your bros.
Yeah.
Tell your other bros.
Tell your mom.
Yeah. A couple podcasts ago, we were talking about dealership test drive
experiences
and stories or whatever. And you had alluded to one that I said someone had told me, and I wasn't really sure.
I was like, dude, you should tell that story.
Yeah, tell a story. And I was like, I don't know what it is. I'll go learn it. So I went, as my friend Tyler, I went and asked him to tell it, and I recorded him telling it. So we're
straight from the source.
Yeah, from the source. Because I didn't want to it's already secondhand.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like third or fourth hand or whatever. And so I went and recorded that. So we're going to put that right here.
So back when I was in high school, I had a friend named Jerry who was one of those guys that you knew in high school that despite the fact that he was 17 years old, he looked like he was 27. And one day he went out to the local dealership that included Fiat, and the Fiat X19 had just come out. And so he was there looking at one, and the salesman said, "Hey, you want to take it for a test drive?" And Jerry said, "Sure." And so he gets in the driver's seat, and the sales guy gets in the passenger seat, and they take off down this frontage road that loops underneath the freeway at this point where you're coming to an elevated section. And the guy the whole way is just extolling to Jerry that this thing handles like it's on rails. You won't even believe it, you know. And so as they're approaching this, in essence, kind of U-turn, the guy was like, "No, just go for it. Just totally go for it." And so Jerry does, and the car ends up rolling. And as the car is careening, the guy also didn't have his seatbelt on, and he's flying around inside this X19, smacking his head and crashing and everything, just screaming out, "Oh, ah, ooh, ah!" And so this thing ends up being totaled. And the dealership decides that they're going to go after Jerry for this, but because he was underage and they let him drive the car, they didn't have a leg to stand on, so they totally ate it. And I'm sure that guy, his career as a salesman ended that day.
There it is. Yeah. I think I told you Lotus, or it's a Fiat.
I think John should put up a picture of a X19
so you can see
exactly.
And two things. After that, I have the clip somewhere, but he was like, "The funny thing about that is the Fiat X19 was a total piece of shit."
It doesn't handle on rails.
It just makes the whole story that much better.
Yeah, and he found some review of it. Tyler did, and it was like, the review was like, it struggles to hit 60. It was like a 70 horsepower. It was just lame. It was super lame. That story is sweet. The first time he told it to me, though, we were in a car. Like, we were driving somewhere and we were in a car. So he was already kind of like, in the seat,
role playing.
Yeah, and so he was playing the role of like the dealer, and he was like, like,
bouncing around. Yeah,
he acted it out a little more animated. I was just dying at that. But yeah, it's pretty sweet. I forgot the dude's not wearing his seatbelt.
Yeah,
just like
that's a big
extra sweet. Rolling a car without a seatbelt.
But fortunately, it sounds like they were going slow enough where they weren't like really hurt.
Yeah,
it doesn't look.
It was just like funny and sad instead of this like insane rolling it. This thing's on rails.
That actually just reminded me. Remember when we went and test drove that first gen MR2 with that shitty car?
with the one in like what, Belmont?
Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
like a used car. There was just a point when we were young,
High school, I think.
high school, where it was
Yeah.
like, let's go test drive cars. Like,
And-
let's see if we can.
But not at like legitimate dealerships. Always the used
Yeah,
car.
we couldn't go to an actual deal. It was like
Yeah.
the really sketchy.
Yeah, it was just like some guy let me drive a first gen MR2.
It was some like
or something.
Vietnam vet or something.
Yeah. It's so funny to think about that stuff. It's like, why would I do that? Like, can you imagine wasting your time, wasting someone else's time like that? It's like a different world. Yeah. So thank you. Tyler's not going to watch this.
Yeah.
He's got more important things to do.
Yeah, he's got other things going
So if anyone has a test drive story that tops
If you have
that
your own
one,
test drive story, feel free to record yourself.
Yeah, send it in.
Send it in. That could be the new. That could be the new theme. That had reminded us. Test drive stories reminded of a new car. We got on the topic of new cars,
Right.
basically, and we were talking about, is it Consumer Reports?
yeah, or JD Power, like any of those.
Who talks about like new car reliability,
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like a metric that they have.
Like 4.9 or something. Yeah.
Well,
whatever.
it's just like I don't know, every year where it's like they come out with a list and it's like whatever tops the list, like someone's at the bottom,
Most reliable
right?
new cars
And
of
it's like,
2018.
how does that even work?
Yeah, how does that possibly work? Unless there are cars that are unreliable in the first year.
I don't think there's
Maybe.
I mean, it's a pretty rare.
I don't know. I wonder. Well, because you do hear about like I had an Audi for like 2 months and then it was in the shop or something.
Yeah, but I think if you look at it, it's always like they complain about like it's not really reliability. It's more like laggy infotainment
Quirks
or
and bugs. Right?
yeah. It's like it's not like
Yeah.
left me stranded.
Yeah.
It's very rarely that.
That is another interesting topic you bring up, is just lag infotainment
Right.
in general on new cars.
Yeah, because I think that was like I remember I either read it or heard it, and like, so, whatever, like Ford was called out for infotainment and something else, and whatever, BMW was called out for infotainment.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there any new car, save for a Tesla, maybe, is there a new car where you wouldn't rather just have Apple CarPlay than whatever
They bake into it.
they bake into it? It's like the worst part about cars usually is the infotainment.
Well, it's more like have you ever driven a car and been like, damn, that infotainment though,
That
like that
infotainment
was
good.
yeah.
But I feel that way about Apple CarPlay. And
Well, that's
maybe
'cause-
Android Auto or something.
That's because
But I mean, infotainment now, like, doesn't just mean like, oh, navigation or music. Like a lot of cars like that, HVAC controls,
Yeah.
heat sink. Like you have to do like
Yeah.
my coworker just got a new Range Rover Sport HSE, like the V6 one, not the big boy one, but and you bought it brand new, and I think within like the first 3 weeks, she has like a pretty long commute to work, and she was saying like, oh, I was driving home to work just down, the highway. And all of a sudden, because literally, I don't know if you've seen the interior of that. I'll show a picture of it here, but it's all screens. It's kind of like a Tesla,
right.
like, the big gauge cluster is just a big giant screen. And then there's a larger screen up top and then a smaller screen below it. And then there's 2 physical dials, but the dials do like 7 different things depending on what you're looking at on the screen.
Yeah.
Like it's either like, a fan speed if you like push it in and rotate it,
Yeah.
or temperature if you like just rotate it. It's all this weird shit. But she said she was just driving like that, and all of a sudden all 3 screens just went black.
Yeah.
Her radio was still playing, but her air conditioner turned off.
Yeah, right.
Like the fan turned off, and so she couldn't. She was like tapping the screens to try to break the car up, and like, nothing happened. And then she finally, like, the car didn't stop, so she drove home. And when she got home, she like turned it off and tried to turn it back on. It didn't start for like 3 attempts. Finally, it did start, and then the screens like came back on.
Mm-hmm. She probably should have checked the JD.
I'm sure
She would have
reports would have let her know.
She would have been unreliable.
Like,
they are so intertwined,
right?
Just with the infotainment.
It's just, well, it's crazy because it's such a big part of how someone perceives like the usability of a car. And
well, it's because like it's your main point of input besides like anything besides the steering wheel.
Yeah, but then 15 years ago, like it just was there was no set. It was like you operate this by buttons.
It was so basic.
Yeah,
like you look at any 90s Honda, really, there's no, like, anything. It's just like it's got some sliders, fan speed sliders, where the air blows. Yeah, that was one.
You don't like go back and read a review. It's like the buttons on the cassette player were very hard to use. Laid out poorly. Yeah,
like, did it have AC or not?
Right.
Basically,
exactly.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking about? It's a little tangential, but like, and I do mention Tesla. I don't think, have you guys driven one yet?
No.
Either. It's like that infotainment is actually pretty good, and pretty much the whole car is done through that thing.
Right,
it's this giant tablet, but it is actually pretty good. But just that car made me realize that as more and more car makers start producing electric cars, and I do think it's going to shift there. They're just simpler and better. It's like the majority of cars will be electric at some point.
Yeah,
it's like all electric motors are the same.
Yeah,
there is no differentiation between an electric motor. It's not going to be like Ferrari makes the best electric motor.
Right.
It's really exotic electric.
It revs to like 18,000 RPMs.
There's nothing.
It
it's
has
just like,
better low end torque.
Yeah, it's just like, it's how big's the battery.
Yeah.
And like, that's about it. How fast can you deliver power?
Right.
It's like they're all going to drive very similar.
Yeah.
At some point soon. Very similar.
Yeah. Right.
And so it's like, what's left other than infotainment? You know, it's like that starts to become more and more the car. It's like interior build quality and infotainment, because driving the thing
is kind of universal.
Is going to be basically universal. It's not just like, oh, this powertrain, you know, silky smooth. It's like they're so basic.
Right.
It's like the advantage of an electric car really is its simplicity. But at the same time, that's its downfall from a competition standpoint.
Right. How do you differentiate?
How do you differentiate? It's really just, it's really the interior, I guess.
Yeah. I guess the styling, whatever.
Yeah. Styling in it. Yeah. But it's like you can judge the car parked at that point.
Right.
Because it's like you don't really even need
I guess ride quality.
Yeah. I guess there still is everything.
Well, like speaking of the styling, it's almost like it feels like the Tesla, like it looks good, but it feels like very, I don't know, like sterile, like the car of the future. Like you could just envision some like rendering where like all the cars just look like that.
And all of theirs kind of do.
Like, yeah, it kind of feels like that. Like how are you going to, in the future, or, 10 years from now even. Like,
I think they have there's no need to style a car differently with an electric car. There kind of is, because now you don't need the like 3-box design stuff, or whatever that is.
Like cooling, whatever.
Yeah, they sort of just did it so it would appear conventional, and they just like put a frunk in it, where it's like, people expect the cabin to be somewhere in the middle.
The shape should look like that.
And it's like they just kind of did it that way. But it's like, I think cars will still be styled very differently.
You think so?
Yeah. Mercedes will still, like, they're already doing it as they switch. They're already kind of doing it.
I wonder if there's going to be like some like super cheap looking electric shitbox.
I'm sure.
Car.
Yeah. I don't think any of that's going to change. There's still going to be shitty ones, and there's still going to be really nice ones. They just have much nicer interiors.
They all sound the same.
Yeah. So it's like some of them are quiet on the road and some of them are loud.
Range.
It's like all that.
Like
the size of the battery and all that stuff. That stuff won't change.
Right.
It's like a step that will happen, but it won't level the playing field.
Yeah.
Other than the power delivery. That's why I'm really curious. What will you do with, like, is a sports car just no longer going to be
Well, our Teslas, each wheel has its own separate electric motor, right?
No, there are 2 motors on the all-wheel drive ones.
Oh, okay.
They
well,
don't
I
put the
mean,
motor
that
at
could
the
be
wheel.
a thing where like it's all-wheel drive and there's 4 electric motors.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
And, like,
I really don't know.
Whereas like a Chevy Spark only has one
insane.
electric motor.
It seems like even so much of, I mean, all the suspension and steering stuff is all very computerized too, right?
It's pretty similar. It's pretty similar to a conventional car.
Is it?
Yeah, it's still the same setup. It can be more compact. I'm very curious. I'm genuinely curious to see what you guys will think of the 3 when you drive that. Because it's until you actually get a little intimate with that car.
But very.
Well, until you just start using it.
Oh, I thought you were talking about something.
Yeah, that too. I have never been more impressed by a car. That's not true. In that way.
I mean, you drove that MR2.
Yeah, it's not. There's cooler like performance sports cars I've driven or whatever.
As like a vehicle tool.
As just like this feels way different.
Right.
It really does. Because it's just more than. I mean, you had an e-Golf. You've had what 3 electric cars?
2. Yeah.
2? It's just like it's such a step change.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they're starting fresh.
Right.
Have any of the baggage of already being a car company.
Right.
They have a real advantage there. It's like they can make up whatever rules they want or whatever.
They don't have like legacy customers.
There's no legacy stuff. Yeah. And I think one of their biggest advantages is they don't have to compete with themselves, or they don't have to like walk that line.
Right.
Like this doesn't need to turn into the Tesla episode, but like one of them, I'm very curious to see, because it's like every other car company makes gas powered cars.
Right.
You know, and so it's like, how do you market the electric car? Do you either go full throttle into it and say like, our electric cars are way better.
Right.
Do not buy our gas powered cars.
Yeah.
Or you have to make them so that they both coexist for a while.
Right.
And it's like, it's just kind of a mess. Like, how do you market both of them?
Yeah, well, I think it's all going to be infrastructure related. I think
overall it will be.
Yeah, that's
the grand bottleneck.
That's what everyone's kind of waiting
like,
for.
They're waiting for that. But it's like Tesla doesn't care. They don't have any legacy products.
Right.
They can just come straight at it and say this is the way of the future.
Right.
Don't buy a gas powered car. Whereas no other company can say that without stepping on their own feet.
Right.
Really. I mean, it's like I feel like that's how they kind of fumble, like the Bolt.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you market that without saying like this is way better than the Sonic, or like do not buy
I think that,
Malibu,
or even the Volt,
or whatever,
where it's an electric car but it has a longer range.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing they fucked up with the Bolt is like it looks, it's one of the few cars that looks cheaper than it is.
Yeah.
Like it's a pretty impressive like piece, but like it looks like a Daewoo or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't look at it and think anything but cheap person.
Right.
When you see it.
Even though like it's like aside from Tesla, it's like the most impressive electric car you can get. It really
is what the 3 was trying to be by a lot of metrics. They did it. They just missed the mark so hard on making it cool.
Right.
And it's like,
it's like
there's a lot there.
It's about as uncool as an electric car can get.
It is super uncool.
And I've driven, like, it's fun to drive. Like it's I mean, it's not Tesla fast, but it's like, it's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just looks and feels like cheaper than it needs to be.
Yeah, that's too bad. I was interested in that thing, kind of, but like, I don't know.
And the other thing, I think the other thing that's holding electric cars back, I get this just became the EV episode, but everyone talks about, SUV, everyone's going SUV crossover.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And like the vast majority of electric cars are all like small, compact,
tiny little things.
That like those are the cars that people are not. That's not the segment that people want.
Right. I think it's because the most expensive component of an electric car is the battery.
Right, and you need a big one for
as small as you can make the car is just an advantage. Because it's just going to end up being, if you make it be a crossover, it's going to be more expensive. Right. So you may as well make it a luxury crossover,
and just fully.
But then it's a weird thing.
I'm actually sort of running into that now because we have the e-Golf and the lease will be up next year, and my wife wants a small SUV.
Yeah,
because we have a kid now and just need a little bit more space. But there's not really.
There is no.
I would like to have
a competitor that's electric.
Not yet. That's what I would like to have, another electric car, because they're sweet as a daily driver. But there's not like. Unless you want another Golf or Leaf or whatever.
Yeah, the Bolt doesn't really cut it.
No. No.
Yeah. Tesla's, I mean, they're coming out with, that's their next product.
The Y or whatever.
Y or whatever. But yeah, I think that's...
Well, the X isn't that a kind of a crossover size?
Yeah, but it's like 100.
Yeah,
no, I know.
That's like a very...
That's what I mean, is to make it that size, which like, even an X is a little big.
Yeah.
But to go that size, it's going to be that expensive.
Right.
Because the car is going to end up being like 5,000 pounds. And so it's like, to move that much, you need a giant battery and all these things. It's like, it's going to be that expensive, so you may as well make it luxury,
right? Because
it has to be that big. So it's like there's no way, if they're going to make a RAV4 size car, anyone but Tesla, it'd be like 60 grand or something, you know?
Yeah, as opposed to like 25.
Yeah, I mean, even the 3, they have not yet released the cheapest one.
Right.
They've not yet released the one that could potentially be,
even
if it were a crossover, CRV,
right? And even for as expensive as the 3 is, it's still like a compact car. It's not. Yeah. It's not really like a family car. I mean, you could put but you're still going to be.
That interior is pretty spacious, but yeah, it doesn't feel. It's a like, 3 Series,
right?
It's very comparable to a 3 Series. But yeah, I'm curious to see what the Y does.
Well, I think the thing that's really going to like shift the tide is if someone makes an actual pickup. An electric pickup,
which they're also talking
that can tow and like carry a bunch of crap.
Yeah,
because like more than half of all cars are pickups, right? In the U.S.
I wonder how many people, because who buys a pickup because they actually need it?
Well, like companies do. Companies,
work vehicles,
like, just to haul stuff or to tow stuff, or you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if a company can save X amount of money a year on gas going to an electric truck and still do
but I mean, theoretically, an electric truck is like ideal on like apparently tons of torque. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
It's like exactly what you want.
One of the vehicles that still gets like the worst gas mileage, you know.
Right.
An electric like Jeep off-road would be killer.
It's not
right. Like rock crawling in that thing would be perfect.
But I guess, like you say, it's just the expense that would be needed.
They'll get there. I mean, I get why Tesla burns so much money. They can't move fast enough.
Yeah.
It's like they have zero competition, essentially.
Right.
It's just like
they're just trying to get out there.
As fast as they could possibly build models, it would be, it's not like, well, there's no market for an electric pickup truck. It's like, there is.
Yeah.
There is.
They just need to do it.
It's like they're moving as fast as they possibly can. And that just takes cash.
Yeah.
And people are like, they're burning money. It's like, no shit they are. There's just, no one's done it yet.
Yeah.
And they've got the solution, and so it's just like as fast as they can possibly.
Well, they've teased a truck, haven't they? Like a pickup,
a semi.
They're working.
They've teased a semi.
No, like an actual like pickup.
Oh, a semi.
I mean, just like it was just like a drawing or something.
Yeah, but they're definitely working.
Right.
And the sports car. It's just like if they could quadruple in size, they would.
Right.
You know, it's like there's nothing holding them back other than as fast as they can possibly. They're themselves. They're growing as fast as they can, and most people are critics of how fast they're growing already.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sure they would love to
go even harder.
Even harder. Yeah. Because it's like, it's working. Right. There's demand for their stuff. They can't build their product fast enough.
Yeah.
They literally can't get them out the door fast enough. It's like, it's interesting to watch.
Well, the big question is, does the 3 have Apple CarPlay?
No, I don't think any Tesla does.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Really? They don't? I guess they don't really need it with how.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an owner. I've had one
just
for
a fan.
day or two. Yeah, like I've used it, but their built-in stuff seemed great.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was so overwhelmed by the experience. It wasn't like, well, hold on, I can't stream Pandora.
How do I pair my phone?
Come on. Yeah, right. It was like
I can't talk to Siri. That's like the big thing I like. Is like the Jeep has like their OEM voice recognition thing. Like if you have an iPhone, it just becomes Siri.
Yeah,
like, even if I'm not like hardwired into the.
Yeah, and it uses all their factory placed mics and stuff, and it's all nice. Yeah, I remember when I had a Grand Cherokee for an extended trip, using the phone built through the car, through the mics.
Right.
The other person was just like, "Yeah, it sounds great," and I could hear them great. And it's like that's a rare.
Yeah, I think most cars have that now, even if they.
Right. Yeah,
but they
that's
usually
true,
suck. That's
right.
No, but
like
most cars, it's called like hands-free
Right,
Siri.
you're right.
There's
Yeah,
a version for Apple. Like
I think most.
Like even Hondas, if you.
Yeah, I was just impressed by the mic quality,
right?
And coupled with the stereo quality,
right?
Because usually it's like I'll just use headphones. Like this integration is terrible,
right?
Yeah, I don't know if they'll ever put CarPlay on there because the screen is this like
gigantic,
huge thing. And so CarPlay would be this little
box of
box.
Yeah, like the text message things.
Yeah. But yeah, their integration is, it really is good. It really is good. That infotainment really is good, especially on the 3. There's nothing else in that interior.
Yeah, that's all.
It's just a screen.
Well, it's pretty similar. Like I drove that Jag I-Pace.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that I think that even uses the same thing as that I was just complaining about or talking about the Range Rover. Because they're like the same company. Where it's just 3 giant screens with 2 little radial dials that do multiple things, and it was fine, but obviously it's not reliable.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for this. As boring as people make out, like electric cars killing, like the future's bleak. It's like I think it's pretty exciting.
Oh yeah,
I'm interested to see because it's a lot of competition.
Well, the thing that I don't get is like people are like, yeah, electric cars. It's like most cars are fucking boring. Like
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like even autonomous. It's like take it from me. I don't care
do you
about the day to day.
Yeah, do you really enjoy driving your Chevy Cruze?
Yeah, like who cares about commuting?
Right,
electric cars are so good for that.
Yeah.
Especially after you drive one. It's funny. And then you get back into a gas-powered car and you're like idling in traffic.
Yeah, like a drive-through or something.
Yeah, you're like, this is wasteful.
Yeah. I honestly feel like the average person, like if they ever drove an electric car, they would absolutely love it because it's, gets good quote-unquote gas mileage, and it's going to save them money, and it's just way more simple and reliable because how many times are you just like walking around or you see another car and it's like you can hear like the worst belt squeal or like the brakes are grinding.
They're just shitty things that fall apart quickly.
Well, the average person like doesn't.
They don't want to
maintain their car at all until something breaks. And
it's an appliance. Most people treat cars like appliances.
Let's just say this: is there any Kia that you would rather have than any electric car?
Yeah, yeah. I'd love an electric car. I wish I had a true need for one. Because they're just not. You
don't do enough daily commuting.
I kind of do. Really? I just love to have 3 cars. Basically. Right? Like that's the thing. I've done it. I know. If I had the room, I'd add it. Because like any kind of like 1 mile trip downtown,
right?
Yeah. Like, why am I warming up and moving 4,000 pounds of steel?
Yeah.
To move myself, where it's like, yeah, I could get a bike, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
It's just like an electric car. You don't feel guilty. You don't have to warm it up. Just get in.
But I don't know. I think plugins are pretty like plug-in hybrids.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially both.
Any of that. I'm just saying I'm all for it. I just don't have one because it's like, well, but most times I do these longer trips.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't seamlessly work.
But that's why that's where a plug-in would.
Yeah, where it would work.
Right.
But he needs like a 4-wheel drive vehicle.
So, but 3 cars.
Yeah.
If I had a 3-car garage, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I thought about it. As soon as I drove that 3, it's like, I want one. I want one of these now.
Bad.
It's just like, yeah. We'll do a separate thing when you guys drive it. I'd like to give your initial impressions. Speaking of car infotainment and whatever, the Cadillac.
Oh yeah, so
Q, is that what it's called?
I think it's still called that. I assume but like a couple months ago, I was driving. I saw like that kind of the old school way you just see a car parked for sale, and it was I think it was a 2015 CTS V Sport.
Yeah,
not the V8 one, but like the twin turbo V6.
Yeah,
and I was thinking like, oh man, like this could be a cool car. Like if it's cheap. So I like called the guy and went and looked at it, and it was like he just handed me the keys and like let me know. It was a neat car, except there were just so much like it had that Q system, which I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I haven't used it.
But apparently it's like the most like
it's the most
criticized.
Criticized infotainment.
It is.
Is it like Chevy's version of like Ford Sync? I'm not familiar with it.
Well, I mean, that's the name, but it's like all very, like there's no physical buttons.
Yeah, everything is capacitive.
It's like everything.
Touch.
Like climate, like
so we were talking about I think you explained it well, but it's just like the last 5-ish years Cadillacs across the range, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
infotainment, heater, AC,
essentially
stereo,
all
center stack,
all vehicular controls.
Cadillac
basically.
Stuff is called Q,
right?
I'm sure it stands for something.
I think it's like Cadillac user.
Something
experience or something.
It is now.
Yeah.
And it's terrible according to everyone.
I mean,
now according.
I'm sure it's the kind of thing that you could, if you had it, you'd get used to it.
Sure.
But I would mostly like if I was going to buy this thing, I was going to be like, this just feels like a lot of shit that could break or stop working on a car that's like, you know, going to go out of warranty.
Or that you have to just deal with
at
all.
And just like, oh man.
Even if it doesn't break.
Right. Yeah. But just like the thought of all this stuff that formerly wouldn't need to be a concern. Like before you would just worry about like the engine or is the transmission going to go out?
None of that crap ever breaks on old cars.
But I just...
the buttons wear out?
No. Yeah, that's what I mean. You know? Like, and I feel like the more shit that cars have, the less like durable they're going to like... I don't know.
I'm not too opposed to certain aspects of it where it's like backup camera or whatever.
Right.
Like designed well, those modules can be some plug and play thing.
Right.
Even if the camera fails, that's like a $1 camera.
Right.
If that.
Right.
It can be baked into some little thing you pull out of the license plate frame and put back in.
I just wonder like how easily some of this stuff is made to be fixed or replaced.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is ideally it shouldn't matter.
Right.
But you know it probably does.
Yeah.
Especially on that where it's like, can you imagine 15 years from now trying to buy that thing?
That's what I mean.
It's like buying some discontinued head unit.
Exactly, because technology like moves so fast.
Well, especially that's already outdated.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like, you're going to be, it's like no one's going to buy a 10-year-old computer.
Yeah. Some $1,200 head unit. And it's not like, whatever, like it's broken, don't use it. It's like, no, you can't turn on the AC.
Right, yeah.
The defroster doesn't work.
Well, there's even, we were talking about the Lexus, like they're, like the older, second gen IS, you know, their nav, you know, that's kind of like that old school, like, and I remember reading it was like, you don't get the nav because when that thing goes out, which it does go out.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
Like 05 stuff. It's like if you can find it without a nav, do it.
Right.
Because they do go out.
And you can't use your AC.
In today's dollars, they're $900.
Right.
And it's like, and this is just the beginning of them starting to go out.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not like they're still making those.
And this isn't a car that's otherwise bulletproof.
Yeah, Lexus.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, this is the beginning. Because anytime stuff starts to break with a car, or it's like, oh yeah, the door rubber wears out. It's like, but it's only $200.
Yeah.
And it's like, you kind of watch it as the years go on.
Yeah, you can see it.
Certain things where it's like, now it's $1,600.
Yeah.
Because everyone's failed and they don't make them anymore.
And I imagine that's the kind of thing that just goes one day. It's not like it gradually stops working.
Yeah, some of them kept working forever. It's too bad. This is not a new complaint.
No.
We're definitely rehashing things other people have said, but it's like, it is a sad reality where a lot of these cars just aren't going to be worth owning at a certain point.
When they should be. I mean, like...
when maybe they otherwise could be.
Right.
You know, there's this whole fleet of used cars that will never be...
It makes you wonder if there's going to be like some company that just like steps in, like when your Ford Sync dies, like just put ours in, like
that'd be great.
I mean, I'm sure it would take some serious engineering, but
that would be nice. You know, like how they'll like reproduce old muscle car parts. Someone just steps in, it's like, well, you can 3D print any or whatever.
Exactly. Like maybe someone's working on that, but
I don't know.
It sounds like it'd be a big undertaking.
It's funny how even these days, a car that is meant for like enthusiasts or whatever will just delete all that shit.
Yeah.
Or like, or it'll still be a holdup. Like the Type R comes to mind because Honda had a center stack, which a lot of people didn't like.
Oh, because the no volume button.
And part of it was like there's no volume knob.
Yeah.
And then like they went back and added volume. Like, it's like they added.
Yeah, they gave in.
Yeah, but it's just funny. It's funny what a big deal it is. Because the other part of it is from a manufacturer's standpoint, like who gives a shit about 20 years down the road? You know, it's like they're making the car for right now.
Right.
They're just trying to sell the thing.
Right.
Once it's sold once, they've made their money. They don't care about the used car market.
Like we're complaining. Oh, you're making cars that aren't going to be around in 20 years. Like they don't totally.
Yeah, they're not. That's not what they're building them for.
And
although that is one thing that's always kind of funny when it's always like, most Chevy trucks are still on the road. Like, don't buy a new one.
Yeah.
Why would I get rid of this one and get a new one? It's going to be on the road for another like 30 years.
That's how I felt about the 4Runner. It's like, damn, this is all the value of the old one. That kind of brings me to another point I wanted to talk about was just in general, enthusiasts take that for what, take that as you will.
Quote unquote.
Yeah. There is always a faction of people where as the trends in automobiles change, usually toward reliability, I think, or manufacturability, but they will remove controls from the user, and the things that come to mind, and the people will bemoan
vocal.
They don't like it, and the things I'm thinking of are it's usually the switch toward digital control, and so I'm guessing I wasn't there. I'm guessing there was a huge group of people who hated the idea of fuel injection. Yeah. Because now you don't, or like setting points on my distributor.
Yeah,
or
I don't want no computer.
Yeah, like I set the jets in my carburetor. And so it's like they didn't like fuel injection. And then there's people who like didn't like, I don't know if this is true, kind of just guessing, didn't like ABS.
Yeah.
Which is
probably
like silly. But a big one in our lifetime, at least, was you used to control your throttle. There used to be a cable hooked up to the motor physically.
Throttle by wire.
Yeah, you're pushing. The gas pedal's hooked up to a cable that's hooked up to the motor. And then they switched to, now the gas pedal's just moving a sensor.
Right.
And in the motor, there's a little
actuator.
Some little motor moving. You know, it's like you're not actually touching the thing.
Yeah.
And people hated that. Yeah. It's like, it doesn't feel, I can't feel the vibration. And I get it, because it does, I mean, on an extremely deep level of nerdiness where most people would not notice, you can feel it. You can feel a cable. It does have a different feel.
Right.
Your foot is connected to the motor. There are nuanced little feelings, whatever. But people fight it. Yeah. They fight it. And what you gain when you no longer have a cable actuating the thing, first of all, it's more reliable, because I have had cables. Yeah. I've had cables get stuck at full throttle. When
you just fucking punch it.
I've had a motor stick at full throttle before. Yeah. That has happened. That is a failure mode of them. But also, when a computer now controls the throttle, one, you can actually make the motor more hot rodded. Right. And you can filter out, you can filter your foot inputs. Response, and smooth it out. And you can have way more advanced traction control, traction control. Whereas before you couldn't. Because like, they kind of tried.
It would be operating like independently.
Vacuum hose. And I think the only one I can think of is early Toyota traction control is like there were two throttles and one of them was like the traction control throttle or something. Because like you can't stop your foot from,
if something's like, pulling a cable on a lever.
You can't. Like it's like the computer wants to close the throttle.
Yeah, stop.
And so it's like now you can have way more advanced traction control. Right. You can have different throttle sport responses and stuff. You can change that mapping. Cruise control is just easy now. Yeah. It used to be you had this like vacuum canister that held the throttle and never worked on an older car. It's like there are big advantages, and it's way cheaper. Cheaper from their perspective.
They don't have to make an extra part.
That's probably the most exciting part for them is it's cheaper now. Yeah. But yeah, there's always people who like, no, don't take our steering is a big one. Oh, yeah. Steering feel of an old hydraulic system and stuff. It's like you're getting rid of a motor, a whole nother fluid that you don't have to think about anymore, a belt. It's just all this stuff they remove. And people are just like, no, it doesn't feel, I can't feel the road through. And it's like, I get it. And in some cases, true, fair enough. But it's fascinating to watch that, and at every step of the way they fight it. Where I was thinking about it was John was working on the STI, and I was kind of looking at the engine bay. I was like, man, if you could get rid of the steering link from the physical steering wheel down to the rack, you could probably fit a bunch more shit in this engine bay.
Or just have a lot more room to work on
or whatever. Because there are a couple cases I can think of where, depending on the motor in the car, they had to make certain sacrifices for the motor because there was a steering link running through.
Well, like my Dart has like an old like box, steering box,
right?
And that's like you have to get like a very specific kind of header,
right?
Right.
And then even then it'll still like, oh, like this header you have to like trim it yourself because it'll like it'll hit the steering box.
Yeah, there are huge disadvantages to that happening.
And there were like, and there was other cars like I think on the like some of the 510s and 1200s. It's like, oh, if you want to run side drafts, like in your car's left-hand drive, like
I was gonna say it would probably help a lot more with car companies that make left-hand drive and right-hand drive cars.
Yeah, it'd be huge.
Yeah.
It'd be huge. You couldn't swap certain motors in because they were turbo and the turbo.
Right.
There's just all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it and my first thought was like, man, if you could just do steer by wire.
Right.
Yeah.
And you could fix a lot of that stuff. And then I was like, oh man, people would never. They would hate that. I mean, they'll probably do it anyway.
Infinity tried that. Yeah. And apparently
apparently
it sucked.
Well, it's their first try.
Right.
It's going to be garbage.
Yeah.
But it's like people would, if the steering wasn't even connected to the wheels, they'd hate. It's like, and it is true. It's like, at what point are you even
doing anything?
It's like, why is it a wheel at that point?
Right.
Like, who cares? It's just a sensor on the end of this wheel hooked up to nothing.
It's like PlayStation 4 wheel.
It's very PlayStation-y.
Yeah.
I think the NSX, the new one, pretty sure is brake by wire.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing there's other cars. I'm sure they wouldn't be the only. Maybe even the first. So it's getting there.
Well,
that one is.
Well, Formula One went brake by wire, I think, like 3 or 4 years ago. So like it's starting to trickle down. I'm pretty sure Mercedes is going to get it.
So it's like throttle and brake is wire. Steering's probably still not. But it's like there's not a ton of reason for it not to be. Like it's getting there. I don't know. I think it's neat. It's neat to see that happen, but it's funny that people fight it. And I guess it's just a feeling.
It's kind of yeah. I think like that probably goes. I think anytime anything somebody likes changes, there's always going to be like pushback.
Yeah,
regardless of what it is.
I think the biggest problem is as soon as they change, generally the first go at it
is not great.
Bad.
Yeah.
And so they're like, you took something that was honestly perfected
and ruined it.
Because if they're changing it, it's at the end of its life.
Right.
And so it's as good as it'll ever be. It's like they nailed it finally. The throttle cable feels awesome. And they went way down.
Right.
They made a jump for something that was first try and not perfect.
Well, not to get super nerdy, but like with solid state drives, when like those first came out, like I was super against them just because the write speeds were super slow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like the read speed was fast, but to like save data to it was way slower than a traditional hard drive. And I was like, this is fucking bullshit. And then now obviously
don't take away my data speed.
I need my spinning
now they're
disk.
Obviously like way superior than a standard hard drive. But.
So that thought led me to previously we had talked about cars that don't really change a ton, and the two examples were the WRX,
especially the STI.
The STI mostly, because the Subaru, I think it's just called the STI, right? Or is it called the
WRX STI?
Oh, Impreza is the part that dropped.
Yes,
it's no longer called the Impreza.
Yep.
Well, there is an Impreza, but it's
not the non-turbo.
Yeah, it's the Impreza's the non-turbo sedan.
Yeah,
or is.
But it used to be called Impreza WRX.
Yeah,
and now it's just called WRX.
Yes,
right. Anyway, so the WRX STI
it's a good podcast.
Has not changed really
since 2004.
Since it came here.
Yes, it is very similar drivetrain. The body style has changed.
The motor is literally the exact same.
Motor is literally the same.
Transmission is the same.
Transmission, I'm guessing, is the same.
Yeah,
it's like I'm guessing the diff.
Yeah,
stuff.
The diff is they've just added more electronics to it, like DCC modes.
For the most part, that thing has not changed in 14 years. And the other one we were making fun of was the 4Runner, which debuted in 09, I want to say, maybe 08 as an 09, and is still the same.
And even that was not that much different than the one that was before.
The outgoing one, I think it was a bit different, but the motor I think was a carryover.
And the transmission,
V6, and I think the transmission
5-speed auto.
Yeah, and so it's like that thing has not changed. And so we were like, oh, they're so like outdated, and whatever. And we were making fun of that. And I think I've switched. I think I changed my mind. Yeah, I flip-flopped because every once in a while, someone, maybe me, but other people probably as well, not just me, will talk about like, why don't they just make XYZ car that they no longer make. Why don't they just make that thing exactly as it was? Why don't they just fire up the assembly
just
line?
build me a new E30 M3. I'll buy it right now.
Yeah, like they could sell the R34 Skyline today. They could just sell that thing today, exactly as it was.
Put a new airbag in it.
Just start up the factory line and sell those things. And people will say that about a couple cars, and maybe they're right. They're probably not,
right?
You know, but it's like people that sell like hotcakes, you know. In some cases, they probably would, like some Porsches or something. And so I was kind of thinking, it's like, well, those cars are that.
Yeah, it's like, they're still just making the same car.
They're still making those things. Like it's very, you could totally see in like 2011, they changed the STI and now it's like quite a bit different.
Right.
And you could see people saying, why don't they just fire up the 07
that was the
STI and just make those things again? It's like they are.
Yeah.
They're still making them. You know?
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Same with the 4Runner, which by so many metrics is an outdated, crazy outdated car.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't have any of the safety sense shit that the rest of the Toyota. It's like this weird motor that's like slow and the transmission's all
gas mileage is weak.
But they still make it. They make the same thing in 2018 and 2019 now for both vehicles. You can get that same one.
And they're selling more than ever.
And they're selling more than ever. But that's beside the point.
Right.
It's just like they still make it the same way they used to. And you can get a brand new one, 0 miles right off the factory line.
Yeah.
That is the same way it was, untarnished.
Nissan Frontier.
Yeah, because as soon as they stop making that thing, people will probably say, "Oh, why didn't they?" So I've kind of turned around where I am excited for the new both of those,
right? If they ever come.
But at the same time, I am now respectful of the fact that they still make them because, like, cool, you can still get an old school STI.
Yeah. Well, whatever, a 2018 STI is literally an 05 STI that's like safer. Like, has whatever it needs to meet current
interior.
And that is something that we wish they would do for a lot of cars.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, keep making it forever.
Right.
Like, it's a great car, never stop. And
S2000
like,
or something.
Yeah, and it's like, they are. And now we're like, oh, it's outdated. Like, why aren't they doing it? So I have changed my tune on those two because it's rare. It's not like every car,
right?
Like those two. Which brings us to final point: the TRD Pro.
Pro.
4Runner.
Speaking of 4Runner,
I just saw a sweet one of those actually today. It was like all white and had like the super crazy, like it's not a full cab lid. It's like a netted one, and then like he had like all this crazy shit strapped to it.
Truck?
Oh yeah, under the truck bed. Yeah,
Tacoma.
On the Tacoma.
A Tacoma. Yeah.
Yeah, they're usually pimped out a bit, but those cars, the Tundra, the Toyota Tundra, the Tacoma, both their trucks, the medium size whatever truck and their bigger truck,
4Runner.
and the 4Runner, which is their body on frame SUV.
Yeah,
they make a version of them called the Pro.
TRD Pro.
Oh, TRD Pro.
Pro.
Which
when did they start doing that?
Pretty early, 2014 maybe. 14 or 15, which is some badging. A color,
like a unique,
you can get them in white,
color.
black, or a unique color.
Yeah, there's like a gray and like a blue, and
shocks and springs and wheels, and I think some like interior stitching.
Yeah, that says Pro.
That says Pro on it. Yeah, and maybe some other stuff, but that's
you said that's not even done at the factory, right?
Yeah, shock, springs, wheels, and it's port installed.
So they're built whatever in Japan or wherever.
They're built except for the color,
right?
They're just built as like a SR5, or whatever. And then port side, they pull, and that's why I think that's why it's not extensive. Yeah, because they have to be able to pull them here,
right?
And then they cost. I think it might be their most expensive.
Probably.
Or
close to it.
I think it's the top of the line. But there's options on that you don't get that you can get on a lesser runner.
Yeah, you're kind of like locked into a.
There's some suspension stuff that you can't get on a Pro that you can't get on the other one. And they sell crazy.
They've like always sold at markup. Essentially,
you cannot get one at MSRP. Years later,
they're just like as hot as a fucking car can get.
Super hot. Yeah, as hot as a car can get.
Yeah.
These things are hot. Except I'm guessing the Tundra.
Because it's pretty, it's pretty big.
actually a big
I think
car,
it's just
so-
kind of like people don't. Maybe I'm guessing here. Maybe those things are just as much. But the Tacoma and the 4Runner, it's like you can't. They don't sit on dealer floors, or if they do, it's because they have like a crazy markup.
Yeah.
It's like as hot can be for a car that is way. You can build one for cheaper.
Yeah.
And start with a
Whatever.
SR5 and build it for like $2,000 or something. You
And like
get the parts from Toyota.
Yeah.
Right?
They sell.
They sell all the parts.
Yeah.
It's like a bumper. That's right. It's like a different bumper, and grill, wheels, tires, shocks.
Some like modestly upgraded shocks and springs.
And it's like, if you were going to build it, you'd not use those parts because you'd get better parts.
Right.
It's not even like, but they're crazy.
They
It's just
use
like-
the best. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, they sell like crazy. They are just printing money with those things. I don't know if they could have anticipated
I doubt it.
how good they're doing.
Yeah.
Just like I'm pretty sure they didn't anticipate just 4Runner sales in general just
going crazy.
skyrocketing as it gets older.
Just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I kind of want one. I was looking at a 4Runner when I was considering a new one. I was like, well, I got to get a Pro.
Right.
Like, if I'm going to get one,
You're like,
not?
I'm not an amateur.
why not? At first, it'd be like, well, that one's cool, so I'd get it. But then once I realized they hold their value so well, that's the other thing is you can sell one like at MSRP with like 20,000 miles
fucking
on
nuts.
it. Right. It's nuts. It's crazy. It's crazy. But then it turned into like, well, if I could get one at a good deal, why wouldn't I buy it? It was like, why wouldn't I get it? So it's not the type of thing. I mean, on the one hand, I want to say that's very stupid. I would never buy it. On the other hand, it's like, I want it bad. I want the Pro.
I just wonder like how different it'd be if it wasn't called Pro. If it was just called like
if it's just
like anything else. But
Well, there's the TRD Sport.
yes, that's weak, dude. Sport. Come
right.
on,
It's
dude.
not
Pro. That word
For
Pro.
some people are pros. Other people they're fine with the sport.
TRD Off-Road, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but it is a crazy success.
And I don't think anyone's ever bought a TRD Pro and never like not referred to it as a TRD.
As a TRD.
They never just said like, oh, I got a Tacoma or a 4Runner. It's like,
let them know.
oh no, I got TRD Pro.
Yeah, but it's like
TRD Pro.
yeah, but it's shock springs wheels. It's just crazy. It's crazy what aura
Yeah.
it has.
And
around it.
people go for it.
Yeah. And then of course, like any forum or anything, it's like, no, I'm pretty sure they use like the strongest frame. Like, no, they don't.
They-
No,
yeah,
they don't.
These are reinforced.
No, like, I'm pretty sure there's some extra like cat. Nah, it's not. I know you want to, it's like
justify
Yeah,
your
when people
purchase.
start like inventing the mythical, well, they only use the smartest engineers to build them and stuff. It's like they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't. Like,
The smartest dock workers installed.
yeah. It's like, nah, they didn't. They didn't. Yeah. It's crazy. Okay. That's solid.
Yeah.
Good luck naming this one. Yeah. Okay. So I think we'll be back next week.
We should be.
We should be.
We're teasing the idea of taking December off, but like here we are.
That'd be kind of a bitch move.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. We'll probably be back. We'll let you know if we're not. But otherwise,
If not, I'll record something that will follow immediately after this
Yeah.
saying we are not.
Sorry, guys.
yeah. As always, thanks for being here.
Yep.
Super cool that you guys are listening. Enjoying all the feedback you guys give. There's something about these podcasts that feel cooler than the videos. Right. It's like the audience for this.
It's much different.
I think what it is like the audience for these podcasts meant to be here.
Yeah. Right.
And the videos, like half the audience, if not more, we like duped into watching it. You know? And it's like, we made you mad.
Welcome to YouTube.
Yeah, it's just like, gotcha. And these are not that. So it's like, if you are listening to this, especially at this point, it's like, cool. Hi.
Yeah. Thanks for not being mad.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, like, it's pretty sweet. So, yeah, we'll probably see you next week.
Yep.
Thanks for listening.
Yep.
Thanks for watching. And take care.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.